going to transition into Tyler Williams, right? If you're not familiar, four-star receiver out of Lakeland, Florida. That's Central Florida. There's a school maybe about 2 hours up north, and that is Florida. So basically their backyard. Um, listen, I think you're getting an excellent receiver, folks. Excellent receiver. Very long, 6'3", 6'4" range, about 205 pounds. And if you watch his tape, the dude has separation speed, right? He can move, returns punts, returns kickoffs, and just can do it all. So, you know, the takeaway for me, Kobe, was this: if you watched his commitment ceremony afterwards, what he said about why he chose Georgia was very interesting. I'm gonna kind of paraphrase this a little bit. I don't remember the exact quote. But long story short, to paraphrase, it was pretty much saying that Georgia's offense, excuse me, Georgia's offense, and how we pass the ball and we spread it around is one of the reasons why he's here. And that's a stark contrast. It's a stark contrast from what we saw with recruits like Jaden Hazelwood and even Eric Gilbert when he committed to LSU, right? I'm just saying it's very nice, and it's really a breath of fresh air to hear that information being spewed out about Georgia. What Tyler Williams said specifically here. You know, take this for what it's worth. He is the first to go out on public basically and say why Georgia and why the offense made him commit, right? How does that make how should that make Georgia fans feel, Kobe, hearing those words last night?
It definitely shows that Kirby is on his way to being one of the great head coaches. I mean, I think about in my lifetime and just like what you've seen and what you've built over at Alabama with Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban's synonymous for great coaching. The way he ran that program from '08 to 2012, maybe even up to 2015, he big offensive lineman, big defensive lineman, big linebackers, and a big running back. And he pounded you at the line of scrimmage. And then in 2015, 2016, he plays Deshaun Watson, and they're throwing the ball around the yard. They're fast, they're small, they're spread out, they're dual threat, and he gets beat. And he looks at that point and he goes, "Never again will we get beat because we're getting out athleted in this new, quick, still big lineman, but this new quick, mobile quarterback system that we're just not built to stop." And so it's nice to see that Kirby, early in his career here, we were big, we ran the ball. Georgia's always been known for running the ball, even historically. I mean, RBU. But while we're still running the ball, while we still have some amazing running backs, he's definitely letting Monken kind of expand on the offense. He's getting the ball to playmakers in space and letting them go and make plays, whether that's the running back in space, a tight end on the sweep, reverse, whatever, Darnell over the middle, lad deep. It's nice to see that these receivers go, okay, I come in, maybe as a freshman, like it's nice to see some freshmen getting some playing time. Maybe as a freshman, maybe a redshirt a year, but eventually I'm going to be getting looks, and then it's on me with what I do with those looks. Well, you can think about Matt Landers, um, Justin Robinson, like those guys as young guys got looks in our offense. Now it didn't work out for either of them. They didn't, make the most of those opportunities, and now they're elsewhere making the most of those opportunities there.
Yeah, Landers at Arkansas. I mean, if you really pay attention to Arkansas this year, you've seen Landers actually get some features and some several touches as well. So,
And
I
you'll
mean,
get to see
you're
later in
spot
the
on.
year when
Yeah.
we play Mississippi State. You'll get to see Justin Robinson. But it's
Yep.
nice to hear. I think what I was most surprised about is a lot of people thought that this guy's recruitment was coming down between Georgia and Miami. And at the end of the night, he was like, yeah, it really came down between Georgia and South Carolina.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
shock to me too, because obviously, listen, at the same time, like, yeah, I'm going to do this because I can. Miami is down bad right now because I mean Lakeland is right in between, right in between Gaines. Like Lakeland is in between Gainesville and Miami. I think a little bit closer to Gainesville, but you get what I mean. Obviously, last ditch effort, heavy push, right? But to hear that, right? Like Georgia's been in that situation recently too. So I'm not going to be the doomer here, if you will. But it's crazy to think that Georgia has had that recent Phil there, right? To hear the South Carolina though, I think that was surprising to me because not a lot of people thought it was going to be that, especially leading into last night, right? A lot of people thought that it was Georgia was a leader, but then you hear the Miami talking, and it was just like, all right, it's Georgia Miami. It was just almost like an instant, like that's what it is. But to hear that South Carolina though, listen, that's got to give props to Shane Beamer and company up there.
Well,
Um,
especially fresh off earlier this week, they get a 5-star receiver, and
they
to know
did.
that it came down to them again with this 4-star receiver. I mean, it shows that Beamer ball up in South Carolina is having an impact on recruits. Now, are they showing it on the field yet? Debatable. But if Beamer recruits properly and recruits these athletes properly, it's going to show up on the field eventually.
Yeah, you have to be careful with Beamer ball, right? And the reason I say that, and this is a testament to his recruiting prowess. Nichols Harbor, right? I hope that's not. Hope I don't butcher that too much. Harbor, right? That's a top 10, top 15 kid in the country. And they're presumed favorites there. Now, whether he's such a freakish athlete. I don't know what they're going to use him as. But nonetheless, listen. At the same time, you look at obviously we're going to go quickly back, but listen, it was just abundantly clear that they had a lot of problems, right? They had a lot of problems, but it won't be surprising to me that if a year or two comes down the line, some of these problems that we saw them experience could be patched up a little bit better for sure, right? Moving forward, but I do want to obviously listen what Georgia can expect here. I think you're going to see a big body receiver, something that Georgia, right? Georgia, we've always had. You look at AD Mitchell right now. Pickens was kind of one of those big bodied receivers, but he's fast. He's got top end speed that I think surprises people for his height and weight, right? For his measurables, it's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. Watching some of his tape, you see him create separation, and he's not playing in some rinky dink, right? He's not playing in that kind of ball. He's on one of the best teams in the country, and he's standing out in that kind of way as one of the better players on the field. So you have to really look at that and take that into context. That he ain't playing scrubs, folks. It's that Central Florida ball, right? Anything around I-4 and below, right? Anything I-4 and below, you're going to see good football in the state of Florida. There's no question about it. And the fact that he's on one of the best teams in the country, for sure, the state, and balling out the way he is, there is no reason you should feel anything less than just astounded and joyful to see this kid come into your program because it's going to bring a pair that with Carson Beck next year. Just think about this. You pair that with Carson Beck, and you're looking at a potential to see some fun football. I mean, maybe even more than what we're seeing now. I think you're going to see a sure-handed receiver too that can go down and catch these deep balls fast enough to break through secondaries, right? Get past, take the top off the field, but go up and create and literally catch the 50-50 balls, which is something that Georgia has relied on, right? AD Mitchell. You start
Well,
to see you start
you thinking Kirby's career here,
yeah.
Zion Williams, Lawrence Cager, even Terry Godwin when he was here, he wasn't the biggest guy, but he caught a lot of 50-50 balls in his career. I mean, we like a big body in the red zone. I'm surprised we haven't thrown Darnell more 50-50 balls to this point in the year in the red zone, especially considering the struggle we've kind of had scoring. At some point, the man's 6'7.5" with arms probably 3 foot long. Throw an 11-foot high ball and let him go get it.
I mean, you're not wrong, Kobe. You're not wrong at all. Like I feel like to make our offense such a success, you have to sit there and utilize the 50-50 balls. That's what I mean, when we pass the ball, that's what we've kind of been used to seeing. I think that's going to continue with Tyler Williams, and I don't see that slowing down.